Hi, my name's Aaron Curry, and in this video series, I'm going to show you why you can stop worrying about the stock market, stop worrying about pensions, and stop worrying about the economy when you build a property portfolio at the best time ever to buy. This next 9 months, the best time ever in your future lifetime to buy property. And I'm going to show you how you can buy 2 to 10 houses before Christmas, all with at least 17% discount without sacrificing your time with your family or creating a second job for yourself. And my goal is that we do that so you can literally write down a retirement date today that's less than 10 years away. So you can say, I want to retire on this date, that you can also do that buying less than 60% of the properties that you think you'll need to buy to be able to retire. And you can do that and create a luxury retirement income, all following my unique system and thanks to the unique 6 C's that I have and the 6 C system to make sure you only ever buy world-class properties. So that's an awful lot to cover also, obviously, and that's a big promise that I'm making to you there. And that's why there's 4 videos in this series. So now, before we go any further, I just want to explain to you, obviously, this is not my perfect video setting. I normally have a videographer, we'll be in a nicer environment, but we're in lockdown. I can't bring anybody in to video face-to-face with me. I can't get touchy-feely with them and around them. So I'm doing this on the webcam. I've got the headset on. So forgive that. Forgive the way that this has been set up, but I just want to make sure I get the content out to you and I share this stuff with people, because now's the time to learn this stuff, and now's the time to get ready because the opportunity is coming. I don't want you to wait to learn this when I can get the videographer, because you're not going to be ahead of that curve. Okay. So if you want to know how to buy 2 to 10 properties before Christmas this year, before December this year, all with a 17% plus discount, without sacrificing any time with your family and without creating a second job for yourself, and you want the information, then don't worry about the video quality. Let's worry about the content and get the content to you. So in today's video, I'm going to show you why you can stop worrying about the stock market, the pensions, and the economy, and why this is the best time right now in your future lifetime to build a property portfolio. And in fact, the best time since the credit crunch 12 years ago for you to building a portfolio. You see, Warren Buffett says, be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. You've probably heard that quote before. So be greedy when others are fearful. Right now, there's a whole lot of fear out there in the marketplace. People are scared to move. People are scared to move forward. Now's the time for you to take action, to step forward and take action, okay? So how many people can actually say they were greedy when others were fearful, that they were brave enough to step up and take that action? How many people can prove that they were greedy when others were fearful, and the steps that they can show you the steps they took when others were fearful to move forward? I'm one of the people that did that. I'm one of the people that have been there and that have done that. You see, I started the Insight Group, my business that serves thousands and thousands of people, in fact, hundreds of thousands of people every year. I started this business back in 2009 when there was massive fear about the economy, and the property market at that time was kind of exploding. People were saying, we'd had a big boom period, but then it was exploding into a mess. And I started my portfolio building company right at that time when there's a load of fear, because I knew I could pick up superb discounted properties for my clients easier and get them better discounts than any other time. And that's exactly what I did back then in 2008-9 when I started my businesses, my Insight Group business. I made a fortune for my clients, building them a pension that they could see, a realistic pension that would allow them to make different choices in life, that would allow them over the last decade to get to points of retirement and to have a specific retirement date, and allow them to specifically know when they were going to achieve their goals. Now, there were loads of people back then that thought I was crazy. You see, most people mistakenly believe that you can't make money in a property crash. The truth is, if you're buying property when the market is rising, you're buying property in that normal rising market, in that boom period, and you're making money then, The majority of people that make money in a boom period, let's think about 2004 to 2007. I met so many people in that period that thought, and they were saying, yeah, I'm making money in property, it's going brilliantly. In fact, what was happening, they were buying rubbish houses, doing rubbish refurbishments. They didn't really know what they were doing, but the market happened to go up. So I know people, for example, that bought a house for £100,000, spent £10,000 on the refurb, and sold it for £120,000. And they said, oh, genius, I just spent £10,000, I've turned it into 20, I've doubled my money, I've been a genius. In fact, what had happened over that year, the market had gone up 10% anyway. They could have just bought the house, sat on it for a year, and sold it for 110 and made the £10,000 without spending any money on the refurb. Yeah? The point I'm making is, when you're a novice, if you're a novice investing and you invest in a bad market, you get severely burned. But if you know what you're doing when there's a bad market, there is all sorts of opportunity out there to help other people and to help yourself at the same time. So a rising market saves you from those newbie mistakes, those disasters that you can have. And I know that from bitter experience myself. You see, when I started on my property investing journey back in 2000, 20 years ago, I made every possible beginner's mistake you can imagine. You know, my first 10 houses were a disaster. And I almost quit property because it was so hard. But then I learned from my mistakes. I learned from other more successful people. I went and found what I call masters, people in the industry or in the world that were just superb at this. And I went and modeled what they did. I copied what they did. And from modeling and copying what they did and really reflecting on the mistakes that I've made, I came up with what I call my golden rules, my 6 C's, these world-class rules. And I'm going to share those with you later on in this video series. And the next 7 houses that I bought, those first 10 houses, I'd lost hundreds of thousands of pounds sometimes. Hundreds of pounds, thousands of pounds, a couple of times tens of thousands of pounds. But once I put these rules in place, these golden rules in place, the next 7 properties that I bought with those golden rules, they were enough on their own, just those 7, to allow me and my joint venture partner to be able to quit our jobs if we wanted to. Now, my JV partner went ahead and he did that. He went, you know what? This is amazing. I'm quitting my job, because he didn't enjoy his job. I actually was enjoying my job and enjoying what I was doing, so I kept working. But literally 7 houses to be able to get to that point bought to those golden rules. And the reason I could start the Insight Group in 2009 when the property market hit rock bottom was because of those golden rules. Because with these rules, I've been able to use these rules in that crunch, in that drop. I've been able to use these rules in a flat market. I've been able to use these rules in a rising market. And wherever we use the rules, we know that we're buying world-class properties that don't just serve us at the time. You don't want a set of rules that just serve you when it's rising. You also don't want a set of rules that just serves you in this crunch. You want a set of rules that's going to serve you forever and ever. It's going to build a legacy, a portfolio that's a legacy, okay? And over time, I've been able to use these rules over the last 15, 20 years for myself to build a portfolio of 200 properties for myself. Our done-for-you clients have got a portfolio. We've bought over 1,000 properties for our clients over the last 11, 12 years, again, using these rules. And we now look at £180 million worth of property every single month. £180 million worth of stock. Our ear is to the ground. And we whittle out, because our rules are so strict, we're like reject, 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 reject. We end up with about 1 in 100 properties that we take forward, and we're buying about 30 properties a month for our done-for-you clients, building them really successful portfolios, okay? So I know you can use these rules to become financially free. I've done it for myself. I've done it for other done-for-you clients over the last decade, and these rules will work for you, okay? And I'm going to show you in this video series how you can use those rules to get there with probably 60% less properties than you believe you need. In fact, in my next video, I'll do that, 60% less properties. So, but right now, what I'd like to do is tell you why now is the best time to buy property since 2009. Why is now just a fantastic opportunity for you to move forward and move forward with your investing? I want you to think about the market we're in right now today. So back in 2009, 2008, 9, 7, 8, 9, we had the credit crunch, okay? And generally when there's a market correction, when the market drops, it drops on average, up to 10%. You never get significantly more than 10%. If you go back through the decades and you look at all of the drops, you might get an odd region where it's dropped 15%. Microeconomics have kicked in and you get a 15% drop. People can show me 2008, well, this particular area, it dropped a bit less. But in general in the marketplace, when it drops about 10%. Okay. So, and that's exactly what it did, by the way, as a general rule of thumb, January 2007 to January through 2009. When you look at the graphic for that particular period, you can see that the market moved 10, 11% drop in that specific period, okay, when the credit crunch happened, okay? And that was a superb time to buy. Now, what was going on back then? Well, what was going on back then is the banks had run out of money. Literally, the banks had run out of money. The government ended up bailing out the bank, didn't they? They had to put money in to bail out the bank. Okay. So what's going on right now here today? Well, here today, we're in lockdown. Okay. We've got three main things that are affecting the market or going to affect the market right now. We've got lockdown going on. We've got changes in lending criteria, and we've got fear. People are fearful financially for all sorts of genuine good reasons. Okay. Now, let's deal with these each individually. If we think, first of all, about lockdown, okay? You've got the whole country in lockdown currently as I record this video, okay? Things may change, but right now, we've got the whole country in lockdown. Now, what that means is the property market has stopped. The merry-go-round has literally stopped. We've never had a time like this before. Normally with supply and demand, if demand drops, if people start choosing not to buy, they think it's too expensive, so demand drops, but the supply stays the same, the house prices go down. And if demand goes up, but the supply stays the same, house prices go up. Supply and demand, that's what affects the house prices, okay? And if it goes up significantly, demand, or supply drops a lot, then you get big rises. And if it goes down significantly and supply stays the same, you get big drops, okay? Now, in lockdown, actually, the situation is that the market's just totally stopped. It's not one or the other. But we do know that people who have their houses up for sale still want to sell them. And there'll be some people in this 3-month period that are getting very fed up of each other and will want to sell as well. Or people will have wanted to sell and would have thought of selling at this period, but they can't because they're in lockdown. So supply is going to stay the same or go up a little bit. And demand is likely to drop. We're going to come out of lockdown and we're going to want to move, some of us, and we're going to want to move on to the next place. But it's going to drop a bit with social distancing and everything else. It's not going to be people's biggest priority unless they've got a personal problem that's going on making them want to move. So the market is going to move in a downward direction. That's going to happen, okay? That's definitely going to happen. We've got lending criteria changing. You've got the banks where they're saying, do you know what? Right now at the moment, we have got 50% of our team on furlough. We've sent them all home and they're not even working. And the rest of the team are at home and some of them have to deal with confidential information. They can't do that from home. So the mortgage lending, what the mortgage lenders have done, we've heard announcements on residential mortgages where they've said, do you know what? We're only going to offer on residential mortgages 60% loan to value. That means if a house is worth 100,000, they'll only lend you 60% of the value, 60,000 to buy it. Now, this is on residentials. Banks like the Virgin Group have dropped to 65%. Barclays dropped to 60%, one of the first ones to drop it. And so they've dropped, and they're saying, if you want to borrow more than that, we're just not lending it at the moment. And some people are saying, oh, does that mean the banks have run out of money? They've not got money to lend. No. The banks are short of team. Their current team, they've got 50% of them on furlough, 60%, whatever it is. So the current team they've got left, okay, they've said, what do we do with this team? Well, a big chunk of them are having to deal with the mortgage payment holiday requests that are coming in. So a big chunk of them are busy with that and sorting that out. And then the rest of the team they have left, they said, they may as well just deal with the current applications we've already got. So you just deal with the current applications we've already got and we'll just close the doors for a little while because we've only got the resource. But you speak to those banks, they want to lend. You speak to those banks, they want to open up and lend again. So this is totally different to the credit crunch, as in they've not run out of money, they want to lend. Whereas before they'd run out of money, the government were having to lend them money, okay? But it does mean at the moment, there's less mortgages available. Now, by the way, there are still buy-to-lets with a 25% deposit and quite a few of them. So that market is still open now today, and that market will 100% definitely be open when the lockdown lifts. Okay, it's available, it's there. Okay, so we've got lending criteria being more restrictive and people seeing that. So to be able to move, they're needing bigger deposits, etc. So you've got less people moving, demand is dropping. Demand is dropping. And then you've got fear. You've got fear. People understandably, right now, there's a heck of a lot of emotional pain out there. There's physical pain, there's death, bottom line, there's death, and there's financial pain. There's financial pain, and different people affected in different ways. But there are people worried about their jobs. There are people worried about how their businesses will be and how things will be going forward. And those people are understandably not going to make big financial decisions. They're not going to go purchase their dream house if they think they might lose their job and then lose their dream house. They're going to delay that for 3 months, 6 months. Okay. So all of these factors are going to push on that house price drop. And I think you'll get that. You'll agree with me. There's going to be a drop in prices that kicks in. And that's going to arrive with us. That might start in June time. But if we open up in June, and people start moving around a little bit more in June, the estate agency market might open up, let's say, that's not going to wash through. At first, sellers are going to try and stick to their prices. The people that are going to need to sell are those that are desperate to sell. But there's a lot of them out there. People like builders, for example. If you think of a building company and they've built 50 houses on this plot and they've got another 3 plots and they've got all their workforce, they rely on selling houses now to pay those bills to move on to the next site. The banks are coming to them to pay interest on those loans that they've got out at the moment because they haven't sold their houses. So if they don't sell those houses in a timely manner, they've got a problem. So builders have got a real problem right now. You're going to see them really taking a hit on their prices just to get the cash flow back in the business to be able to pay the wages and move on to the next site. Live to fight another day, and they've got the next sites to move on, no problem. Builders will take a big cut in their prices. You're going to see people that are desperate to move, that kind of hate each other's guts, having spent a month, 2 months together on lockdown, and they're desperate to move, and they'll take a cut to get out and just to break free. So, but they're the people that will be selling. So we're going to see this drop in prices. We're going to be able to get in and buy at a cheaper level, okay? And then if you layer on top of that, buying with my golden rules, to buy discount on top of that, you now get to significant discounts. 17% plus discount based on the February, March prices. That's where you want to be buying. Ethically, you're not ripping anybody off, but ethically buying at those points. Now, how long will this last? How long is our opportunity to buy at those points? Well, that depends. And it depends on how successful the government are with their financial stimulus. They have massively stimulated the economy right now, haven't they? They're pumping billions, hundreds of billions of pounds into the economy in terms of loans to businesses, £30 billion worth of VAT postponements to keep that money circulating, the furlough scheme that's going to cost 30, 40, 50 billion, who knows where that will end up in terms of the cost to that. All this stuff to keep the economy going. The government have done that for a reason. They understand that the underlying economy was in good shape. The underlying economy was in good shape. House prices. Liverpool was up 7% each of the last couple of years. Birmingham was as well. Leeds was up. Newcastle was starting to go. The marketplace was moving in an upward direction. Business was doing well. The business economy was in an upward trajectory. So the underlying financials are good. If the government can recover this in time, we can go back to those underlying financials and we'll end up seeing, in heaven, we'd see a V. We'd be straight back at it. Probably it crashes, it spikes back up. We might see a U. We might see a longer U, or you go in a recession and it's a really long-based U. So, but with the government's fiscal support, I believe we're going to see a U. And that U means that the market's going to go down. But then once we're all allowed out again and we can spend again and we can get moving again, a lot of the economy will recover. A lot of the economy will start to move again. So what's our window? Because this isn't a normal credit crunch. This isn't a normal peak. We hadn't reached a peak. This was specifically impacted by COVID-19. So I believe that the optimum time to buy, the time of your future life to buy, and the best time to buy since 2008-9 is coming in the July to December window. that is when you have to be buying your investment properties. That's when you need to be stepping up and making sure you're putting investment properties into your portfolio. This is the time of your future life to buy property, and you're going to get literally deals for 17% plus discount based on where you would have been buying them just a month or two ago. 17% plus discount. That's how big this opportunity is. I hope you found this video useful. I wanted to just share some insight with where the market is. What I'm going to do when we come back on our next video in this series, okay, is I'm going to talk to you about how do you, Aaron said on this video, you need 60% less properties than you think you need. I'm literally going to show you how with just a few properties, just a little bit more than a handful, how if you can go out and get yourself 3, for example, between now and Christmas, if you can get just 3 properties between now and Christmas, in the next 5 years, you can be in a position where you're on a retirement income. I want you to understand, and you may or may not know this, in the pension marketplace right now, if you want to retire, back in 2000, if you wanted to retire, you needed £500,000 in your pension pot at the point of retirement, and you could retire on about £40,000 a year. Before this crunch, before we had these problems, guess where that was at? So the start of this year, £1 million now needed in your pension pot to be able to retire and get an income of £40,000 a year. And the reason that's going up, everybody's living longer. So when you buy that annuity, they're going to have to give you that money for longer, so they give you less. So everybody's living for longer. The NHS is a just amazing vehicle. It saves people. So in the old days, you had a heart attack, you died. Now you have a heart attack, they save you. Then you have cancer, they save you. You live longer. So people living longer, that annuity pays less money out. So £1 million you needed in that pension pot. Are you going to have £1 million in your pension pot by the time you retire to be able to be on £40,000 a year? Okay. I'm going to show you, and by the way, now with the credit crunch, not with the crunch that's coming, timing is just such a thing in pensions. When my mum retired, she retired around the credit crunch. It was a disaster for her. Everything, the stock market had crashed at that time. So suddenly her pension was worth 20% less. People planning that were retiring this month or next month, and the stock market's down 20, 30%, their annuity, what they get, is not 40,000 anymore. It's now 32,000 or 28,000. And they had no control over that. Just their time of retirement happened to hit with the stock market crashing. So £1 million in their pension pot, now they're retiring on 28,000 or 30,000. Is that where you want to be? I'm going to show you on the next video how, if you just can get to 3 properties in this period that's coming up, if you just buy 3, I'm going to show you how in the next 5 years you can be retiring on that £50,000 a year. £50,000 a year of retirement. Forget the pension. Doesn't matter what's in the pension. You just need 3 properties, and within the next 5 years, you can be retiring on that £50,000 a year. So join me in video 2. Look out for the invite. Look out for video 2, and join me and let me show you exactly how you need 60% less properties than you think you need, and you too can retire on £50,000 a year within the next 5 years, just by securing 3 properties in this period that is due to come soon. Really hope you found this video useful. Stay safe and look forward to speaking to you really soon. Thank you.